Let me play this.
People up. I mean, as I've been an activist now for 10 years and been in the Royal Fire Service for 18 years, so this is like a full circle happening for me now. Um, yeah, and we're just seeing in the Royal Fire Service, we're seeing things we haven't seen before, time and time again since 2000. So that's fire behaviour, doing things that it's not supposed to be doing. And now this year we're seeing a fire that no one thought was possible. We've always seen big fires, but not so many. We haven't seen 2.7 million hectares burnt with 750 odd houses burnt. And it's just basically hard work that have only 6 people have died compared to other major fires that's happened beforehand. You're killing us. Stop, you're killing us. Through your inaction, through your corrupt behaviour, through your taking money from under the table, you're killing us. You're killing Australia on so many levels. I grew up in Brisbane, and I remember my family, my dad was the only one that had to go to work, and we lived okay, and we could afford to buy a house. I'm 50 now, and my both parents have to go to work, and will never afford a house. So we're all suffering over the whole board, but through that inaction, through just the blatant lies, you're killing Australia. You're killing the wildlife. You're killing communities. We can't cope with what's about to happen. And yes, the fires now in New South Wales are unprecedented, but the worst is yet to come. So we need to act now, otherwise we will not survive. We will, as a species, become extinct with so many other species. We need to rethink everything that we're doing. I mean, in New South Wales, what isn't being burnt in state forests, they're logging. Without nature, we can't survive. Without clean air, you can't survive. And people in Sydney now are starting to realise without clean air.
Oh, what happened to it? Ah, don't tell me they took it off. But anyway, man, Australians are starting to wake up, thank God. What'd they do? They must have deleted the video or something. It's not here now. Bastards. Alright, so they're, it looks like they've, deleted that video, so we got part of it. But it's good to see that they're waking up to the corruption of the government. Yeah, it's gone, man. They got rid of it. Well, we got to see part of it. Alright, we got a lot of new stuff to get into. I was just kind of checking out the worldview map here before we go. We got a bunch of aerosols being deployed coming out of the United Arab Emirates, but then you got other planes coming in from the other side, and then there's like fires out here in the middle of the water body. What is this, a bombing range? What are they doing over here? Anyway, we'll dig into that here a little bit later once we get into the maps. Tons of articles to get into tonight. Cell phone radiation damages DNA in mice. This just come out today. A new study showed that cell phone radiation caused DNA damage in rats and mice. Experts tell us what this means for us humans. We are using our phones more than ever. Most Americans, 96%, have cell phone these days. We check it at least 52 times a day on average, with 75% of us admitting to rarely or seldom turning it off. That adds up to a lot of time on the cell phones. Study from the National Toxicology, I can't say it tonight, program of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services showing that cell phone radiation causes significant increase in DNA damage in lab mice and rats. Oh, well, they got to come down here and say rats and mice aren't people. But if you didn't know, cell phones emit radio frequency RF waves, just like these cell phone towers, the NEXRADs, the Dopplers, satellite, balloons. I mean, you name it, it's putting it off. Your smart meters, your smart thermostats, your microwaves, I mean, everything. The new study found that 2 common RF waves emitted by the cell phones caused DNA damage in mice and rats that were exposed intermittently for a total of slightly more than 9 hours per day for 14 to 19 weeks. The frequencies were the same used in older 2G and 3G technology, and that level of exposure was similar or just slightly higher than the potential exposure on humans would get from holding a cell phone close to their head. It was thought that cell phone generated RF was safe. It did not heat the body's tissues, but in a new study, the cell phone radiation was linked to DNA damage, even at levels that did not involve any heating. So we all know this. You know, here we are. Let's see what this says. The 4 and 5G networks any safer? It doesn't mean they are safer. We know they're not safer. However, there are no adequate health effect studies on 5G. See, they don't know. We're just human experiments. So there's no information on whether 5G will cause eye injuries or increase skin cancer or cooking the brain, you know. And then you got to get into the 5G was actually used as a weapon in Iraq, you know, at a little bit different gigahertz, crowd control, things like that. But now they're wanting to be deployed worldwide, even from balloons and drones flying around, sending these frequencies down. And if you've got a way to go to your council meetings and try to get people aware of what's really going on, that'd be a good thing. Now, I had to get this article here and translate it into English. But like a 1,500 foot sinkhole opened up in the road in China. Now, we just had one of these the other day. I can't remember where it was at. I know we reported on it. But this one happened near a subway station in the Chinese city of Xiamen. I don't know how to pronounce that. The sinkhole swallowed 2 cars, but fortunately the accident left no victims this time. Last time, we've had one in Russia where 2 guys in a car fell in a sinkhole and it boiled them alive. Then we had another one where they lost 3 or 4 people. It might even have been, I think it was in Japan. You got some, I mean, this is a monster. See if I can play this thing here. Let me try to make it bigger. And hopefully I got the sound turned off. That's a massive, that's probably one of the biggest sinkholes I've ever seen. Other than maybe the one down in Branson, Missouri, where it swallowed up a golf course. So, huge sinkhole. We're seeing these more and more. All right, that one's probably not going to play for us. But what happened is it flooded. Oh, there we go. Well, what happened when the sinkhole, it busted a bunch of water mains and then started flooding buildings like gas stations and stuff. Look at this gas station or whatever this is. Some kind of station. So it completely flooded out the station. So crazy sinkholes happening worldwide. I think one happened in, you know, you had a whole partial bridge collapse. I think that was in Colorado. Like 300 foot of the highway collapsed. Yeah, and we had the one with the Corvettes that fell down the sinkhole. Well, coming out a couple days ago, salmon die-off expands, bringing total Chinook fishing closure on Oregon's north coast. We just had the fishing shut down in Alaska, and now it's being shut down here off Oregon's north coast. The recent die-off of the salmon have expanded from the Wilson River to 3 other river basins, leading to the total closure of salmon fishing on the Oregon's north coast. I mean, it's just getting bad, man. This is all from the Fukushima. So there goes 2 major fishing ports that are gone there. All right, now I wanted to show you this because this kind of gets into some of the other stuff we'll be going into. Now this is an article back from like 2018, but the 1900s UP earthquakes twisted train tracks, rock ships in Lake Superior. Like a lot of people don't know that up here that we've had earthquakes up here. The Atlantic Mine earthquake of 1906. A man takes his boys out to see the crooked railroad tracks after the earthquake. You might think Michigan is a hotbed of earthquake, not as a hotbed of earthquake activity, but for a couple of centuries ago, our upper peninsula was rattled by what some have called a swarm of seismic activity. It wasn't too long back, earlier this year, where people were sending me pictures of the road displacing up in Michigan. So a lot of weird stuff, weird quakes. We're going to try to get in some quakes tonight too. We just had an earthquake that just hit the geysers up on the super volcano. I think it's around a 3.2. We had a super deep earthquake just a little bit ago, and we'll get into that later. I don't have that right up right now. Now we got a lot of news coming out about this Earth's magnetic north is shifting at an unprecedented rate of 30 miles a year, throwing satellite positioning and data off. Now these things are always moving. Like the South Pole, it's not even over the Antarctic anymore. I mean, it's done moved off quite a while back. You know, and some people think the poles are getting ready to flip. I'm not talking about the actual access poles. We're talking about the magnetic poles. And, you know, some of the research I've done, these fields have been weakening since the 1600s. And they used to weaken around 10%, you know, right around the 1800s to 2000. And now, you know, since it was weakening about 5% per century, but now it's weakening 5% per decade. So it's definitely ramping up, and it's weakening rapidly. Now they say these magnetic reversals can occur in less than 100 years. And now there's new information coming out that says that magnetic reversals lead to extinction events, which I got that journal. They also say they could cause biblical flooding. Now, I haven't even really looked at any of these articles. I'm just going by some old stuff that I had researched several years ago. And we'll get into some of this. All these links I'm going to put into the I'll put them in the comments section in the morning after the video is over. And then just want to let people know, if you're watching this video like later, not the live stream, but if you watch this video later, what's been going on is every night I have to do a manual review because they won't monetize these videos. Every night I have to do a manual review, and then what happens, they decide to monetize it, but then they front load the whole video with tons of ads. So just skip through that crap. They do it every time. And most of the time they load up the back side of the video, but here lately they're loading up the front side to get people not to watch and turn it off. So don't let Google get away with that stuff. Anyway, here we go. This is kind of a heads up. All sights on Mexico as it discovers the world's largest lithium deposit. Now, lithium is used in every smart device, used in batteries, it's used in all kinds of things. And I know Australia is a pretty big supplier of lithium. They got one of the biggest factories down there. But whenever you see something like this, like, you know, just like if it was plutonium or something like that, man, wait for something to break out here. Somebody will try to get their hands on this or buy it up or something. We see what China's doing. to Australia, buying their water up when they're in a drought. So just kind of keep our eyes on this area. Link will be in the description. So here's some more on the Earth magnetic poles. This came out back last year, around the same time, February 5th, 2018. And what they're saying in this article is Earth magnetic poles not about to flip anytime soon. Okay, but then the same newspaper here come out just today or yesterday. Earth enters unknown magnetic North Pole, continues to push towards Russia, and crosses the Greenwich Meridian. Now, I've watched this for years. Like, I do astrophotography, and I always know, like, if you do astrophotography, the first thing you have to do is align your telescope with the North Star, and it always moves. It's always never right on the pole. You got to use a program called Stellarium to try to find out, exactly where it is and sight your telescope in on it and all that crap. But it's always moving, always has moved, always will. But here is this is over at NOAA, National Center for Environmental Information. Right now we're looking at the Antarctic, and we can see this is how far this thing has moved. And this goes all the way up to I guess that'd be 2020. But we can see how certain times that it has sped up, because you can see between 1931 and 1952, look how far that thing traveled. Now, I haven't got in here to see just exactly. Let me take these lines off. So these things do move great distances sometimes. But like I said, the pole's way out here. It's not even over Antarctica. We can jump up to the Arctic and check it out now. So you can see it started really speeding up around 1994 to 2001. Slowed down just slightly in 2007. Now it's took a really big jump. But you can see, man, this thing is constantly moving around. So, what it means, I have no idea. I mean, it's just part of the cycles. They also line up with a lot of the solar cycles, the grand solar minimum. Here's the actual article. Here, the review of the geophysics, the role of the geomagnetic field intensity in late quantary evolution of humans and large animals. Now, this is the article that actually come out that kind of links this with mass extinctions and floods. And I do we'll post this into the chat or something. If you're over on Twitch or D Live, you'll have to come over to the main channel to get these links. I just can't post them all these different places. And they go through talking about how they got all the models here. And I mean, you just got to take everything with a grain of salt, man. Everybody is just trying to figure things out. But this does go along with the grand solar minimum. And you can see this thing has moved, quite a bit. It's always going to move. And who knows, man? There's so many things going on that it's hard to know exactly what's going on. See, they're saying this led up to the Neanderthal extinction and all. I mean, it's just so much to read. We're not even going to try to get into this. This would have to be like a 10-part video if you went through this whole thing. And then how it goes on. But this also affects our ionosphere. That's the thing. So all the solar activity, and then the poles and the magnetosphere and the ionosphere, they're all connected. So this stuff can also, affect weather. Just like the consequences of ionizing radiation associated with the GCR solar particle events. Solar wind for human health have received attention in the recent years in the effort to evaluate the health effects of space travel and all that stuff. talk about the lava and the magma that could be on the move, earthquakes. I mean, it all goes in together. So anyway, just I'll put all this out there if anybody wants to really dig into that stuff. Dead lake in India's Sheeny city revived after the worst man-made drought. This came out just a few days ago. Not going to get into all that. Now, this article was older, but there was some reason I wanted to read this. Just not all of it, just part of it. The discovery of a recent Antarctic ice sheet collapse raises fears of a new global flood. Now, here's what gets me with all these climate alarmists and stuff. Some 125,000 years ago, during the last brief warm period between the ice ages. See, the Earth is always changing. The sea levels are always going up and down. See, these politicians, these technocrats, they know about these solar minimums. They know about all this stuff, and they use it to try to push their agendas. So if it was warm 125,000 years ago, and the green, let's see here, the earth awash temperatures during this time, called the Inman, were barely higher than today's greenhouse warmed world. See, so they're using actual cycles to try to push their agendas about these climate change and these climate crises. Man, this is all natural events, and there's not a damn thing you can do about it, even though they want to play God and push their stuff. Now, this is just weird here. And this is just a strange article. That's some person, some Iranian zombie, Angelina Jolie, arrested on charges. Reports. I mean, I don't know if anybody's seen this, but I have seen. I mean, it's just a freak. This person has had so many plastic surgeries trying to make herself look like Angelina Jolie, but like just a zombie version. Hey, thanks out there, Swamp Fox. Much love out there. And Simon King. Sometimes I don't catch all that stuff out there, but thanks for supporting us. Check out these crazy photos of this lady. Now, ever since she's been arrested, they've took down her, some of her sites and stuff, man. Look at that, though. Why do people do this? What is wrong with these people? Man, crazy stuff. We also had this coming out a couple days ago. The deepest point of all Earth's continents have been discovered in Antarctica. There's a lot of stuff down in Antarctica that we don't know about. You know, stuff they'll never tell us. Just like our history, like our true history. But the deepest point on any of Earth's continents have been discovered by scientists. The trench, which stretches 2 miles below sea level, is found beneath the Antarctic ice in what is known as the Denman Trough. Researchers discovered this trough, hey, thanks, Sutter Swamp, as part of a project to make the most detailed map of the land beneath Antarctica to date. The topography map of Antarctica showing the ridges and trenches and slopes that make up the landscape. The international team of researchers led by geologists from the University of California, Irvine, created the map using data from 19 research institutions going back over 40 years. Now, what's crazy about this, we just had the C-130 that crashed from the scientists and stuff heading down to Antarctica. So, you know, somehow all this stuff ties together. We just haven't figured it all out yet. But we'll keep digging. Now, over in Virginia, the National Guard issues statement over calls to enforce gun control. Now, I've read a bunch of articles on this. The Democratic Congressman Donald Eakin's comments about using the National Guard to enforce Governor Ralph Norton's proposed gun control laws in Virginia has caused a storm of controversy in the state. So the people out here, there's a letter that came out from the National Guard, which I think I got it up here. The Dems threatened to use National Guard against a sanctuary county for the Second Amendment. And they're like making every citizen part of the militia to uphold the Second Amendment. Here's a paper out of the globalsecurity.org, the Garden Plot. Con Plan 2502, the use of military to support civil authorities stem from the national values expressed in the Constitution. Which I'm not going to read all this. I'm just going to put this in the post there when I put them up there. But basically, it's the mayor or whoever, he made every citizen part of the militia to try to keep the Second Amendment, or keep anybody from coming in there trying to take away their guns. Now, this article came out back in June. But when you read through this article coming out of Canada here, global internet censorship lockdown begins in Canada. On May 15, 2019, leaders from around the world met in Paris, France, to discuss how they plan to collaborate with the tech giants such as Google, Microsoft, Twitter, and Facebook to ruthlessly censor the internet. Many world leaders, including Trudeau, signed something called the Christchurch Call to Action, pledging to eliminate terrorist and violent extremist content online by using very liberal interpretation of terrorist and violent extremist content. They intend to crush all online content that contradicts their agenda. We're seeing all this right now. This is all the new policies that just come out on YouTube. I mean, it's like lined up perfectly to what they're stating in this. Thanks out there, Kim. Much love out there. So here's the proposed strategies. So they intend to accomplish this by deals are being made with the tech giant oligarchs like Zuckerberg, promising to manifest meaningful financial consequences for online platforms that refuse or cannot comply with the censorship request. Now, we just seen this. I mean, this just come out on, they're going to fines and blocking your videos, taking your channels down. But this is definitely in full effect right now. So it definitely come exactly like they said it would. And this was just a global temperature trends from the 2500 BC to the 2040. And you can see some of these warming events way back 1100 BC. Look how warm it was. Way higher than it is now. Then you got the cooling, then the warming. See, these technocrats are using these at their advantage. They're wanting to mimic these volcanoes. That's why they're doing the cloud whitening and the cloud brightening. But what's going to happen when they do too much solar geoengineering and then an actual big volcano goes off, man? It could send us directly into an ice age. I mean, like with the quickness. Hey, thanks out there, John. So just a heads up on all this information here. Unlike most modern climate change, the biggest swings in recorded history were just regional patterns. I'm not going to read in all that. Now, here in Hong Kong, the protesters are getting hit with sound devices used by police. Hong Kong police deployed a controversial anti-riot acoustic device during the violent student protests. The low-frequency woo-woo sound coming from the police armored vans was heard by journalists covering the violent clashes. This is like the 5G, man. This is low frequency, cause nausea, dizziness. This is the 5G, man. They can do the same thing. Remember over in if you live up in New York, I think it's New York, where they're using a different kind of sound devices all around the parts. And it shoots out a frequency just to affect the kids. Like if you're an adult, you don't know it. I think it's in New Jersey. Let me see if I can Google that. See here, sound weapons. I can't remember if it's New York or New Jersey. Might have been Pennsylvania. I'd have to go back and look at the video I did on it. But anyway, yeah, they got all these different things set up on the poles to affect the kids, so they won't stay out, after a certain time. They crank on these devices, and they're at a frequency that adults can't hear, but it affects the kids. And that's going on in America right now. I'll have to go dig that up later. The inventor of the water-powered car died screaming, "They poisoned me." A man who claimed to have invented the water-powered car died suddenly after eating at a restaurant and running outside screaming, "They poisoned me." They also come in and stole all his stuff. We've seen this happen before with the Tesla technology. Anything free, they're not going to go by. They ain't going to go for that. You can't donate your skin for the volcano eruption unless you're dead. Went over that last night. I'll try to bring up the earthquake 3D here in a minute. Check out this. We've had quite a few earthquakes over here in the Philippines. But this one right here, man, 572 kilometers deep. That's pretty crazy. And we just had one, like I said, a pretty good size one hit right over here in Yellowstone. Wow, it's like, it just hit a minute ago. Like, there we go. Oh, actually, it's 23 kilometers northeast of Old Faithful Geyser, 3.3, 3.2, 3.3 miles deep. What do we have down here? I like doing this better on the Google 3D thing, or the. Let me get rid of all this stuff here. I'm probably done with that. We get out of that. All right, we can go ahead. Let's jump into the worldview map, then maybe we'll jump into some radars and stuff like that. See if I missed anybody out there. Okay, we're all good. So right here where I was showing you that these fires or whatever are going off down here where they're deploying the aerosols. I mean, it looks like they're dropping bombs and catching fires off into the water right here. Now you got the two major weather modification companies right here in the United Arab Emirates. In fact, here's some more hot spots out here in the water. Tons of aerosols being deployed. Got the big X. They charge a certain amount of money for cloud seeding over here. We check the layer, see what it turns into. So after the heavy aerosols, you can see them spanning out into the non-normal cirrus clouds, what they call them. Look at this row of hot spots. What is going on right here? Look at this row of hot spots. We got tons of hot spots in a row. That's what was making me look at the earthquake stuff. I'm like, what is going on, man, right here? So you can see the grids, man. They're just gridding the crap over in this area. Let me back this out a little bit so I can see. They've already flooded out the Horn of Africa, part of Madagascar. They're greening the desert. Using tons of weather modification out here. It looks like the Mediterranean Sea is actually looking a little better. You got an operation. Seems like there's always an operation out here. Always. Like, rarely do they stop. So the Alborian Sea. And I know they got a ground-based generator right there. Yeah, up here in the Mediterranean, it looks like they're starting back up. And this is what sends the weather over to Italy. Italy, Greece, places like that. And then you, of course, you got the Atlantic Ocean that sends the weather to the Portugal, Spain, France, UK. When you dig in way down in here, you can really see how they're totally wiping out the sky down here, spraying the system. You know, most planes, normal planes, won't be flying into these weather patterns. So you just got major flights that are just completely whiting out the sky going up here into Portugal. And we can see all the other spraying is already whited out. Spain. Ireland's actually looking a little clear. The UK is looking a little clear. France, you're going to get about a half a day break because here they come. I know I'm jumping around. I just had to be started on that, so I'm just going to kind of go around. We'll kind of do a big circle here, try to cover everything out here. All the aerosols are out here in the land. Let me see if there's any kind of bunker fuel. Not really seeing nothing, just aerosols all in this system. This will be heading to the UK soon. And what do we got up here in the Davis Strait? Okay, not really, can't really tell. Well, just by looking at this, you got aerosols being deployed over Bermuda. And if you go all the way down, they're starting the spraying operations back up over the Bahamas. So, you know, super grids over the Bahamas. So if you're out here, you live out here, you're on vacation, you're getting waxed. And this operation goes all the way actually down to Cuba. So we got the ionospheric heater right over here. Don't know if it's online right now or whatever. Let's go check our bunker fuel ships from yesterday. Here's today. You know, I seen a documentary earlier where they're trying to make this look like this is helping the planet by whitening the clouds. We talk about it all the time. But yeah, look, they're still going in pairs. You got the X. So it really don't look like there are as many as yesterday. Let me put on yesterday so we can kind of compare. Yeah, there was way more out here yesterday. We'll try to look at that. Tomorrow's the 16-day forecast. We do all the weather forecasting usually on Sunday nights. And then we try to cover all of the United States. We actually try to cover a few other spots. So, that, you know, at first they called this accidental geoengineering. Now they call it cloud whitening. And they say it helps battle the fake global warming. But what it's doing is trapping these clouds over the Arctic and adding tons of sulfur into the atmosphere, like they're mimicking the volcano. That's why I say they're trying to play God out here by deploying all these aerosols. And what happens when a big volcano, we've had tons of volcanoes go off this year, the temperature's probably cooling down. 2 super long sprays again. Getting some more hot spots here up in Oregon. So really the aerosols up here around Alaska, there's just not a whole lot now. I mean, there are a few, but it's actually dwindled down here over the last day. You got a little bit of a modification going on out here. Looks like they may be heading towards the storm. Now we got a couple storms here that's could be heading in through over the Midwest, bringing some snow and ice. Hey, thanks out there. Laughing Mom, much love out there. So anyway, the bunker fuel operations are still going on off the coast of the Bajas of California and California. We can see them way down here going right up. But look at the aerosols, the chemtrails. There's not a whole lot down here, not like yesterday. See, they've already got the system on the move. There's such a thing as overseeding the skies, so they can't spread a whole lot because they can overseed it and it won't rain. Look, we have a spraying operation up here at Fort McMurray where the fires were a few years ago. Planned burns, intentional burns, land grabs, same thing that we're seeing everywhere else. So yeah, definitely a pretty good sized spraying operation over Alberta, Canada. And it's really going to be hard to pick anything up here in the northern part of the United States. Here's the next aerosol deployment. It's actually really dwindled down. You got all this over Texas, parts of New Mexico, a little bit there in Arizona, a little bit of freaky spray, Kansas, Colorado, a little bit in Wyoming. Hey, thanks there, 3mm. And let's see here. So basically where all the aerosols were a couple days ago, that's where all this weather's heading. Perfectly on target. You got aerosols over Illinois. Over Michigan's getting blasted. Indiana's getting blasted. Ohio, I mean, it's hard to see. I can see it. Like, we can let this clear up a little bit. You can see up here in Toronto, heavy spraying. You can pretty much bet they're spraying all where this cloud. This is exactly where the moisture was going. We showed this a couple weeks ago. It's headed right on target. You can't even see the east. Complete whiteout. Here we are with another one of the vertebrae clouds. And it's getting aerosols. These are all aerosol lines. Get it to clear up a little bit. You'll be able to see. Just don't want to clear up real good. But they're seeding in this line. Then it's drifting out, hitting the different wind patterns. Hitting it with some radio frequencies. Thanks out there, chat. I mean, this is all just blatant modification. Look, there's a second band of it going up through Cuba. So all, you know, here north of Cuba going into the Florida Keys is getting waxed. And I can actually see the sprayers on top of the clouds here in Florida. So Florida's getting bombarded. We already talked about the Bahamas, which just kind of go down south. A lot of small fires here and there. It's really weird. I haven't seen hardly any bunker fuel out here off the coast of Peru or Chile in weeks, man, maybe months. Now, they definitely have a spraying operation down here off the coast of Peru. You got a big ionospheric heater down here. And they're using cloud seeding techniques right here on the coast of Peru. Back to the side a little bit. Hey, thanks there, my Nana. Paraguay aerosols going into south of Rio de Janeiro. They're always steering the atmospheric river up here. In Argentina, they're usually getting waxed, but like there's just some light aerosols being deployed. Nothing super huge down here right now. It's Just kind of looking down here where the plane went down. I still haven't heard nothing about any kind of updates on that. They'll probably never ever find that plane. That's part of the deepest part of the ocean on the planet down there. Yep, definitely man-made climate change for sure. And, you know, you add in the solar minimum, the cycle. See, they use that. That's part of their weapon to push their agendas. But then you got to add in all this weather manipulation in with it to make it worse. They're terraforming the planet. Aerosols all in the top of these clouds. I can see it. Let me see if I can change the layer to pull them out a little better. Yeah, like when we see these cloud patterns that are not normal, you know, that's signs something's going on, some kind of manipulation. Like these are aerosols. And then you got like frequencies in the clouds, so they're using some kind of radio frequencies to affect these clouds. Still tons of ash coming out of the volcano down here. You know, that's how we knew people shouldn't have been going to this island, because it had been spewing stuff out for weeks before the eruption. You know, these so-called cruise liners and you know, the people taking these guys out here, they should watch the forecast. They should watch what's going on out here. You know, they're not only risking their own life, they just killed a bunch of people. Plus you got earthquakes happening down here. And this just kind of looks weird. I don't even know what this stuff is. Weird cloud formations. Just kind of go up and see if anything's going. Look, we got little hot spots out there on the islands. Looks like they could be conjuring up a few more storms up here by Guam. South of Guam, over here at the Atoll Islands, man. They fabricate these storms right over the Atoll Islands all the time. We'll have to see if they're trying to form up some cyclones. Let's go ahead and go look at the cyclone page, see if anything's brewing. No activity. You know, it's crazy. It goes from no activity to tons of activity. All right, here. Let's take a look at the maps, man. We haven't looked at the radars and the maps for a while. We'll just see what's going on here. Like I said, tomorrow we'll get into all the super weather forecasting and stuff like that. Let's kind of see just what's going on here. We got a... Oh, that's not what I want. I want to put the watches warnings on. I know we got some winter weather coming across the Midwest. But if you go back 2 weeks ago and even last week, the forecast, we predicted 3 to 6 inches. That's about what they're going to get. Some areas might get a little bit higher. But we're right on from 2 weeks ago. It's exactly where it was supposed to snow. All right, so right now we're showing several winter storm warnings over Colorado, Utah, up in New York. We got winter storm watches over Missouri, Chicago. We have tornadoes down in Florida. So we have tornado warnings in Florida earlier today. Let me pause that so I can back that up. I didn't even know about the tornadoes down here. We called them in the 16-day forecast. And look at all them tornado warnings pop up down in Florida. See, we're going to start having tornadoes all year long. So, wow. Quite a few tornado warnings down there. See if it's going to take us all the way up. Let me open up another page just for a second here and see what we had. Put this on the next rads. Let's go ahead and hit that. So we had tornado warnings out of Jacksonville, Florida, back at 5:14 a.m. So early morning tornadoes. Tampa Bay area, 4:41 a.m. Nothing worse than tornadoes hitting early like that. Everybody is asleep. No warning. So hopefully there was no damage. I haven't looked at that. I didn't know about it. I'd have to go back and look. I haven't been online all day till just a couple hours ago. So that's pretty insane. Let's go ahead and look at the cirrus layer. See what we can pick up. You know, and the forecasters for Missouri, they didn't even talk about any kind of snow chances till like yesterday. Like they give you no warning. I'm getting a little bit of a, hopefully we're not lagging. I'm getting a warning. The stream current bit rate is lower than recommended. I may need to turn the bit rate up. That must be what's going on. Probably to take the watches and warnings off so we can see a little better. Let's see if there was any lightning associated. Follow the lightning. You know where the metal particulates are. Wow, man, the data is still freaking out. Look at all that lightning headed over towards, look at that lightning over Florida. So look at that. Look at this line of lightning that didn't move. Right where the aerosols are being deployed. So you got the heavy metal nano particulates. Probably nano swarm drones out here dropping this stuff. Looked like we had lightning over in California too. Let me see here. I gotta slow this down, man. We got a lot of glitching with this. Yeah, so it's actually showing lightning right now over Northern California. If that's up in the mountains, that'd be like thunder and lightning snow. Thunder snow, a little spot right there in Kansas. So a little bit in Missouri, southern Missouri. That was earlier today. So yeah, severe storms were down there in Florida. So we're not seeing a whole lot of the, we go over to the west. See if I can get that to load up a little better. We got lightning down there off the coast of Hawaii. So Hawaii's probably getting a little bit of weather. All right, let me put this on the microphysics. Whoa. Yeah, that's pretty messed up looking. Yeah, well, you can't deny them guys right there. There's a couple right over here. Then we get the mega glitch in the map. So we can't really look for hot spots out here, but yeah, they're definitely still quite a few ships out there, but nothing like yesterday. Whoa, that's just all freaked out. So we got some odd things going on. Let's go check the RAM slider. Oh yeah, before we do that, I wanted to check the radars. Let's see if they're glitching out. Yep, could be the hamburger birds. Hopefully I get time to make that montage, man. I got some really good ones. I got some newscasters, just a couple of them in a boat, and it looks like they hired some homeless people to sit in a boat with her, and she acts like she's rolling around in these floodwaters, and two guys walk by. It's about 3 inches deep. Pretty funny stuff. And of course we have the hamburger bird guy constantly giving us clips. A little bit of beaming action coming out of St. Louis. We got our military installations over there popping off a little bit. See how they have all the NextRads turned off? This is where the weather's coming. That's one thing you can see, is when the NextRads are turned off, that's where the moisture's coming. And then, you know, they'll, once the moisture gets there, or the backside, they'll speed them up. They'll crank up the NextRads and kind of push them off. Your mainstream, you got a water generation going on over there in Utah. Some of these, you know, bright colors are wind farms and solar farms, which also affect the weather. So they really got these NextRads turned way down. All of them. None of them are really pinging out tonight. So not a whole lot of NextRad operations. I want to go check the RAM slider real quick. Alright, see if this is going to play. There we go. You know, whenever they say, if they're saying they're doing this for good, if they say they're dumping particulates up in the air, it's not for good. And pretty much everything they say, it means the exact opposite. We found that over years. So I was kind of looking around here. Yeah, here's where the other lightning was. Looks like a pretty good thunderstorm right there. Could have been thunder, snow. Oh, here we go. It's loading. Look at them fires. Look at the aerosols being deployed all around this area, along with the fires. It looks like the northern parts slowed down a little bit. But yeah, man, they're burning them up. Burning them up. Took away a bunch of the volunteer firefighters before fire season. It's just completely ridiculous what these governments get away with. Looks like we have a little bit of bunker fuel down here again up the south. Usually they're more over here, but look, we got the aerosols and fires. So we get another fire right there. And the frequencies, so they're sending out the frequencies again. You can see the dust storm drifting out. There's an ionospheric heater right here. Let's check the north and south pole real quick. Hey, thanks out there, Big Kush. You know, they don't even let me stream anymore on my regular Facebook page. They took that out. They censor out tons of comments. Like now you can't even look at the comments because they automatically delete comments. Do the same thing on YouTube. We're not getting any kind of plasma up here at all. No plasma lightning. Let's check the southern hemisphere. It's like the sun is going completely dark on us. Nothing down here. That's pretty strange. We're not getting any kind of aurora activity at all. I want to look at this big hole up here. What do we got going right here? So we got a little bit of melted water here around the Antarctic. You know, somewhere down here, they're saying that there's a spot which is probably censored out, but it's like a tropical area somewhere up here. What is that red? That looks like a rabbit, the mouth and an eye, like weird stuff down here. This is the only satellite data we get down here. I mean, it's pretty clear. And this is coming out of the, I don't know if this is the Hawaiian, I'm not sure whose satellite this is. Definitely probably not, you know, United States. They won't let us see that stuff. All right, so we got a pretty good view on that. Nothing, no kind of plasma stuff. We'll check the Earth null and see how the compression event is going. Here's our polar vortex winds. You can see it's starting to turn into just a single circle. It almost looks like a giant cyclone. Now let's put the temperatures on here. This is going to tell a story of the heating event. This is on purpose. So we have no solar activity going on. It's dark up here because it's winter time up here. So there's no sunlight to create this heating event. And this is a heating event. Let me fast forward to see what they're trying to do is push the polar vortex air back over towards the United States. So they're heating it from this side. We'll see how far. We can only go up a couple days. They got a second wave of heating in place. That's a monster heating event. And look at the cold air dipping down into the United States. And that's as far as we can go. So they're definitely ramping up the heating event. They're also heating up over the Antarctic. Purposely sending the super cold air down. Looks like we may have another wave weapon headed. I think this time it was headed for Portugal. We're looking at 36-foot waves. Let's fast forward that a little bit. It actually is going to die down. A couple wave anomalies out here in the Pacific around the Aleutian Island chain. And that's pretty good sized waves, 37-foot waves. Little bitty anomaly here off the coast, 26-foot waves. Yeah, I wish it could predict out a little farther. Another strange anomaly down here. Now let's go ahead and check the sea surface temperatures. Where's the hot spots? Look, the hot spots are way down here. Usually it's about right in here, and it's actually down here. A little bit farther south than normal. But the overall sea surface temperatures are actually cooling down. We got a little bit of a hot spot, and there should be no reason in hell for a hot spot over here. We just had several typhoons come through here, which would have stirred the water up. And the weird thing, you can see the heat anomaly is right over this little island. What's on that island? Is there a VLF transmitter or something right there? And then we can check out these sea surface anomalies. Here's our heat anomaly. Wow, we have a new heat anomaly down here off the coast of New Zealand. Right where the volcanic, it's growing. In fact, it's off the chart. So big heat anomaly. This will be the blob for the New Zealand. And the one up here off the coast of BC is actually getting smaller. You got a hot spot right there off of Alaska's coast. A little bit of a heat anomaly going right there. But here again, we have a lot of cooler spots. Let's go ahead and check our carbon monoxide. All surface concentrations. See, with all the weather up here, you wouldn't think there'd be a lot of fire, so I don't know if this is from the fracking or methane leaking up. Like, here's a volcano. This signature is always, you know, steady unless it's going off, and then always over here on the East Coast, around the Boston area, it's really high levels. It's kind of by, I don't know if that's where the earthquake, I'm going to back up a day just to see. So we had really high levels there on the East Coast a few hours before this. Look at China and India. They were in the whole, this whole area was almost in the black the other day. Toxic air. Let's go ahead and check the carbon dioxide. You know, they say the carbon dioxide levels are going up. They're actually going way down. Now, here's some high levels in the same spots that the carbon dioxide are, but check this out. The darker the color, the lower the levels of carbon dioxide. Now watch, if I go back to like January of last year, February, it was like freaking me out. That wasn't it. Must have been, maybe it was around, try around March. I'm trying to remember when that was. That it was just, the whole thing was just like, let's try around July. No, it was really good then. Like the whole thing was almost white, man. I can't remember when that was, man. I'd already tried January. Yeah, this might have been it. It might have been even before that. It might have been like late December of last year. I'll try November. Yeah, I just can't remember. But man, the whole thing was like light. Like it looked like Venus syndrome. And it actually looks way better now. Few levels. And then here's our sulfur. And you can see the long straight lines. This is the bunker fuel coming off the ships. They're mimicking the volcanoes. Trying to brighten the sky, brighten the clouds. They call it cloud brightening or cloud whitening. But you can see every cargo ship lanes where they're leaving these high amounts of the sulfur, which is making these storms more electrified, making the storms more stronger. And it's undeniable, man. It's right here. Here's proof. So we still have dust coming off the Saharas. So usually it winds down through the wintertime, but it doesn't look like it is. Let me see if I can fast forward that a little bit. So this is where a lot of the particulates are coming in. Yeah, it won't let me go no farther. Let me just check the, see if I still got this. Oh man, I can't remember how to spell it. Here we go. I think I found it. This map kind of, if it works, it'll give us a little bit better forecast of this. And what it looks like. Because this year was the worst year ever for the PM 2.5 dust coming across. So this is all headed down towards South America. You got the monster Bermuda High up here keeping the dust at bay. Because, you know, all summer this stuff headed right up through the Gulf of Mexico. It went all the way out to Hawaii and beyond. And that's the PM 2.5s, man. Nasty, carcinogen stuff. And here we are. We still must have fires there off of Oregon's coast. Up here in Alberta, BC. So here's some of our super toxic air. Poison air. I just want to see if we can pick up. I want to look back over here a little bit. So it looks like they're getting moisture here, but I don't know if they are. Let me look. You know, they said they got flooded there a couple days ago, but they said that they were dry storms. They're calling them dry storms. So let's just go check on Australia, see if they're getting any kind of moisture out here to put the fires out. Of course not. They got all the clouds there, but right now they're not getting any kind of I gotta shrink this down just so I can get to the controls. So all that moisture down there over Tasmania, none of it's going to come up and help with the fire suppression. You got a little strong little storm up north, but that could spark other fires with the lightning. Little bit of rain over here. That looks super light. A couple little storms. So no real relief for the fire zone at all. They're not letting any of the moisture get over here to put the fires out. Intentional. All right, guys, we're going to call this show. I want to thank everybody out there for helping us, sharing stuff out for us and all that stuff. And we're going to play a song called Rise. Play a couple other songs. I'll jump over on the D-Line, give away the treasure chest. I want to thank everybody for sharing this stuff out, helping us out. And we'll keep on hitting on this stuff. Tomorrow's 16-day forecast. Don't miss that. Because all you got to do is write down the crucial days of the storms in your area. And you're going to have a 2-week warning. And they'll be there on time. Anyway, guys, much love.